Hello and welcome to Indie Game Spotlight. Today we've got a treat for you as we have Sebastian, the RPG Renegade, here to talk about Senshi and his expansion, Shadows of the East. Welcome, Sebastian. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
That's great. Now, as always, I am going to start off with what inspired you to create Senshi?
Well, I'll dig a little further back before I started Senshi to give you a bit of an idea what started it. Basically, it wasn't my first. This is my second
Your second
TTRPG.
game.
Yes. But you have to understand that the first one, the first one was 4 books. It was I went pretty crazy, pretty megalomaniacal on the first one. I bit off way more than I could chew. I was like, okay, well, because it started off as a generic RPG, and then halfway I thought this is kind of boring. I need a setting, and then I was like, well, what kind of setting would people like? And I thought, why not make 3? And then I made 3, and then I made it. Well, it's one, but it's like different timelines. It's 3 timelines in the same one, kind of like think Warhammer and Warhammer 40k.
Yeah.
But it's 3, so it's like a medieval fantasy, and then like a dystopian post-apocalypse, and then a futuristic sci-fi spacefaring opera, whatever. And then after I did that, and that took me ages. It took me like before that. The only thing I did before that was write like some stuff for the DMs Guild for 5e. I did some adventures, but then but I was always a blank canvas kind of guy. You know,
Okay.
I was always like, I want to do something from scratch. And so that's how that started. And then I made tons of mistakes. And I did tons of play tests, lots of different people play testing the game. And I just thought, oh God, I did this wrong. But in doing all of that and that long process, I learned a lot.
Yeah.
But when I finished and when I finally got it out to a point where I was, okay, this is kind of, I like this now. It's not perfect, but it's good. I like it. And then I put it out. And then when that was over, and I also had to learn, how to make a print title and all that stuff, all this technical stuff. And then I finally put it out, and then I felt like exhausted. I felt like
What was
I'm
the
like
name?
the name is Edge. That's the first one.
Edge. Okay.
Yeah, that's also on my page, on my Drive Through RPG page. And then I kind of felt exhausted. And I thought, oh, what do I do now? And I was like, because it kind of sucked all the creativity out of me. I went all in, but obviously it didn't. It just felt like that.
Expect you're a bit burnt out after all of
but
that. It's a lot of work.
Scorched to a crisp.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of sitting down, and then I had like a few months where I was just like wallowing in a sort of, what do I do now? What setting do I do now? And nothing came up. And then I was watching a I don't know if you know this. I don't know how well you two are versed in like Japanese films.
Some, but not massive. It's a case of I enjoy them, but we haven't seen as many as I'd like. I think that's the fair description.
Well, there's one called 13 Assassins.
Oh, I know that one.
Okay, so did you see the original or the remake?
I think I've seen both, but it would be going back
They're both
long
good.
time.
Yeah. So I was watching the remake. I rewatched it like 10 times. It's one of my favorite movies. And I'm watching it, and then I'm very into that sort of era. Into like feudal Japan is like one of my. I'm fascinated by it. I have like tons of books on the subject, and I was like, and then I'm watching it, and then just goes like that. Why don't I make that? And I was like, but surely people have made this. Surely people have made a feudal Japan TTRPG because, the market is incredibly inflated. Everyone's done almost everything, in terms of the franchises and all that stuff. And I went, surely they've covered this. And I went online and I started searching. I went, okay, surprisingly little has been done in this field. And then I went, you know what, I can do it. And then the thing is, with the first game, I was, like I said, blank canvas guy, but I did a very big mistake because I went, I'm gonna make my own dice system. which was super arrogant because there's so many of them out there that work perfectly fine. You can just take one, modify it. And I was like, no, it has to be special. It has to be unique, and then I made this kind of weird system. It works on paper. It's great. The percentages are very nice, but it's kind of weird playing it. I don't know. Now that I'm playing it, I'm like, it's okay. But I wasn't impressed by it as I was in the beginning. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to go more simple. And then I literally took the World of Darkness success-based system, if you guys know that one, from like Vampire the Masquerade.
I haven't used it. Dean, have you used
I haven't used it either. So do you want to talk us through it quickly?
It's just a quick, basically the idea is it's success-based. So basically you roll and then it's, a certain number above the number counts as a success. And
so
then
it's similar to Shadowrun.
Yeah. That one has 6s. The other one has D10s.
Yeah,
and then it has
World of Darkness uses D10s.
Yeah, and it has a few quirks here and there. So I took that as a base, and then I changed it from D10 to a D12, and then I made a bunch of my own quirks, and I kind of made it my own. And then you realize that's a way better way of doing things. Is not reinventing the wheel; it's just making a better wheel. And then that kind of, when I had the setting, and then I had this not the setting, the systems down, and I went, well, great. Now and then the next question is the artwork, because then that's the expensive part. And then I went, well, wait a minute, isn't there a bunch of artists from that time that were drawing like all these paintings? And I went to like a site it's like a compilation of different museums that have all this royalty-free artwork from the actual Japanese feudal Japan artists, and it's all free because it's more than 100 years old. Therefore, the copyright is expired, so I can really use whatever I want. And it's like 300,000 pictures.
And the beautiful artwork as well, isn't it?
And it's authentic. Beautiful. And it's authentic. It's like you're playing a game that was drawn by the people in that time. And I was like, no expenses for artwork, and it's beautiful. I just have to edit it, and put it in. And that's it. And it just took off from there. And then we did some play tests. People were I have this group that I played with very frequently, and we did a few play tests, and they were pretty excited. Like, oh, this is pretty cool. And I took a bunch of people through it, and I went and I was just refining it, because I did the mistake last time. When I released it too early, and then I had to push a lot of updates before I put it into print. This time I was like, no. I'm gonna polish it like crazy and then put it up.
It's amazing the amount of time it takes to actually polish. It was one of the things that we underestimated, was the amount of time it takes to polish, to edit, to play test, to go around that circle a billion gazillion times. But yeah, it's worth it. At the end, you get a better product.
It is, and also it's like it's also the difference of if you're doing one shots and trying one shots through different groups. That's one thing, which is a good thing, because you get different people playing different classes. You get more variety in the test, but at the same time, you get the best results, I think, from a longer, like from an actual campaign. And so that's what I did. Is while I was developing it, I was playing through a campaign with my group, and I was kind of, workshopping it as we went. And then that gave me a bunch of ideas. And you might have noticed on the thumbnail it says revised edition. That's because after I released it, I was again like, I could do a few things better, and I did. And I released it a half a year later, a revised edition, which is like, now I think this is pretty damn good. Excellent. It works pretty well.
So I am going to ask the one question that sets my camera off every time. So we've talked a little bit about your system. We talked about the fact it's D12. But if I was to ask you on the scale from very light and simplistic, there it goes, to very crunchy, where would you put it? And then I've got to do this to stop.
Could you give an example of very simple, an example of very crunchy?
Ooh, a simple.
I'll throw it back to you.
Right, so simple. I would say Shadow Dark. Nice, simple mechanics, quick. Basic D&D even, that was very simple mechanics, that was quick simple, to get used to. No complex one, right? Pathfinder.
Yeah, there were no skills in basic. The way up to sort of GURPS level. Lots of tables, roll master, stuff like that.
Yeah. And even Pathfinder I'd put on the crunchy.
Yeah. Oh, Pathfinder is very crunchy.
Yeah.
Especially 2E, I think.
Yeah, I'd put Pathfinder probably about 8 on the crunch scale. There are games crunchier.
Shadowrun's
than
also very crunchy.
Oh yeah, it is.
Okay, so if that's like there and that's there, I would put mine. I'll put it at 2 places because honestly, the basic amount of rules that you need to learn to play, I would put that at a 3.
Okay.
But if you want to dive in, there's a lot of depth and there's a lot of stuff that your character can do, like maneuvers and all this stuff. So if you want to go crunchy, if you want to go min max or whatever, you can. So if you go there, I would put it at like a 7.
Cool. So basically, you've got what I would class as a low entry point, so people can enter, learn the basics quite easily, and then as they get more proficient with it, the complexity can be added upon, and you can take it up until they get to a point where they're using all of the rules, and then at that point, you're probably talking about a crunch of about 7. Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, and it also, when you play it, it kind of goes that way. Usually they start off at the simple level, and then the more they go in, they're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. It's very gradual. But yeah, it's very simple. It's a very simple system. You can actually print out the entire rules in terms of the dice mechanics, the rolling mechanics, on 2 pages. So it's 2 small pages. So it's not, I deliberately made it like that because the first one, like I did, was way more crunchy. And I thought, let's go simple, but give it more depth. It's because I like that. I like that if you're just starting, you're not going to be overwhelmed. And but once you get into it a bit, you're oh, what else can I do?
Yeah.
So I think we've mentioned already that your dice, you say a D12.
Mm-hmm.
Do you use the other polyhedral dice as well, or is it mainly D12?
For rolling itself, okay, so it usually uses 2. The main one is D12. So basically the way it works is you take any amount of D12 from 1, so minimum of 1 D12 up to if you're really skilled, I'm talking high level, 7 or 8 D12s, but that's super high level. Usually you're 1 to 3, 1 to 4, 1 to 3, 1 to 4. And then when you roll that, there are, what I define as epic rolls. They're not crits, but basically it's a crit. It's there's certain conditions for it. Like if you get a 12 and you have no 1s, then it's an epic roll. And then you count all your successes normally, and then you roll a d4 on top of that, and that's your extra amount of successes. So let's say if you roll 2 and you roll d4, roll 3, you actually had 5. So that's like a crit. It's like a variable crit. It's not like a double. It doesn't double anything. It just gives you an extra amount of successes, which are easy to get because it's a d4. And sometimes that d4 is a d6, depending on if you're a certain character that has a certain specialty, like a certain profession that turns your d4 into d6 on epic rolls. Okay. And then you also but there's also epic failures. There's also if you roll and there's if you get a 1 and you have no successes, the amount of 1s determines how bad the epic failure is. And then there's also a caveat, which is for every pair of 1s and 12s, they cancel each other out. So basically, it's very balanced. Before I added that last rule, it was pretty crazy. You were either critting constantly or you were critically failing constantly. But once I added that last rule, it started to balance out a bit. Now it is way more common to crit in this game than it is D&D, because D&D is D20, it's 5% chance on each die, right? Because it's a D20. Here, not counting advantage and all that stuff, but here it's what's a 12 on a D12? That's I don't know, I think it's 7.5% thereabouts.
8.3.
8.3. Okay. So it is not that much more. It's 3% more, but you're rolling multiple.
With the maths.
Yeah, of course.
You're rolling more dice, so there's more chance. It all kind of compounds upwards,
but that's why
the ones cancelling out actually creates a really unique kind of matrix of crit versus fumble.
Yeah, because of that. But here's the thing: the 1 doesn't cancel the success. It doesn't. I mean, it doesn't cancel the 12, and it doesn't cancel the success. It just cancels its eligibility to make it an epic roll.
Yeah.
So basically, if you roll a 12 and a 1 and a 7, and the difficulty was 7, you still got 2 successes, but you didn't crit.
Yeah, because you got a 1 in the pool.
Yeah. But if you have another 12, then you do.
Then that one would be an epic roll.
So it's just pairs.
Yeah.
It's just pairs. Yeah. So it's like simple to understand. You do a few rolls, you get what the deal is with the mechanics. But it works. It works. Now I've done so many rolls now because I've been playing. I did a full a 40 session campaign with my regular group, and it was a very combat heavy game. So they were doing. They were playing pirates basically. Japanese pirate. It was very fun, and so there was a lot of critting and a lot of critical failures, but like it kind of, I don't know, it works. It's just and it fits the setting really well because combat is lethal in this game. It's not. You don't have a lot of hit points in this. There's no HP bloating. The difference between a new character and a super beefed up high vigor is what I use for health. A high vigor character is like the difference between 6 hit points and 16 hit points.
Right.
Yeah. The whole idea is not to get hit at all. And defense isn't passive, it's active. So
we like that. We are very much so we're a big believer in active defenses because I think it makes the game far more enjoyable to play. And B, it just feels more realistic.
Yeah. You still have a high chance that you're gonna, if you have a lot of dice in your defense, you still have a high chance that you're gonna be fine, but not necessarily. And also if you have a lot of dice in the attack, because it's a success-based system, every dice can fail. Even if you roll 15 dice, you can roll 15 twos. I mean, it's practically impossible, but you know what I mean? Theoretically possible.
I could do it. I could definitely roll 15 fails. I know I could. Yes. My dice jail could attend to that. Yes. Absolutely.
And the way I've kind of fit this into the setting is because the combat is like, if you ever watched any sort of duel in like a Japanese movie, it's like usually it's two guys looking at each other, kind of calculating each other, and then one hit and then one goes down. That's pretty much how combat is in this game. Like you can go down in one hit. But it's not like, oh, I'm gonna die first session. You can, but it's not like guaranteed. But you can like slice through enemies like crazy if you roll well. So it's a very intense system. I had a lot of moments where we were playing and people were literally like at the edge of their seats, like, is he gonna go down? It's like both of them have 1 hit point left, and it's like 3 more hits and no one's going down, So it works really, really well for this setting. I don't know how well it would work in other settings, but this one, it's like.
Yeah, sometimes I think the dice and the setting just go hand in hand, and sometimes. The one complements the other to such a level you would never want to sort of, split the two apart.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look up at my top left. Yeah, it's left. And sort of say to Dean, well, I think we've gone through some of the mechanics, but I think we need to delve a bit deeper into those mechanics, Dean.
I think we do, but before we move on, you talked about the D12 being the main dice. What are the dice you used?
So, like I said, the D4 is on top of the D12 if you epically succeed. Sometimes that's a D6, but that's very rare. I mean, that's pretty much it. The other stuff is used in abilities and stuff. Like let's say, I don't know, you have an ability, it lasts for 1d4 plus 1 turns or something, and you roll d4. Or a D10 is usually used like 2d10s, or a D100 essentially is used for resistance rolls. That's literally just a percentage. It's really like you have 50% chance to resist a disease, roll under 50, you're fine.
Yeah.
It's really just that. So it's very simple. But that's the only one, really. Everything else is D12s. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Works really well because it's simple, because you don't need a lot of dice.
So you need D12s, D4, D6s, and your D%.
I would say it's nice to have one of each of the regular ones, just in case your ability says, I don't know, roll a D8 and then blah, 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 But generally speaking, yeah.
Okay. Cool. Fantastic. So, looking at, I'm starting a new character. What would be my steps of starting that new character? How would I go about creating the character?
Okay, so character creation is really quick in this game. 20 minutes, you can have a character up. If you want to get into the nitty gritty details,
Oh yes. Oh
let's say
yes. That's
30,
why we're
40 minutes.
here.
30 40 minutes. It's not that much longer, because there's options, but there's basically the first thing you start with is your profession. So there's no classes in this game.
So do you
there's-
do that? Do you do this before or after you've chosen your attributes? Do you do profession before attributes or an attributes rolled?
I would say, I would say that's a stuff of preference, but I would say that sometimes it's better to do the professions because they give you a starting bonus, because the stats are not rolled. It's basically a point by, it's like you're putting dots in, very similar to Shadowrun. Similar to Shadowrun. So basically you have 4 main stats, actually 5. You have vigor, dexterity, insight, and charisma. Those are your main 4 stats. And then you have Budo, which means martial art. That's like all your martial arts. And then each of these has like a subset. Those are actually the skills underneath. So vigor has athletics, riding, aggression, which is like taunting and stuff. And then you have dexterity, has agility, and blah 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 blah. So each one has 3 skills. So it's like 12 skills altogether, plus 5 combat skills. And basically the main attributes are kind of like limiters. So basically, if you have athletics is a part of vigor, so if you want athletics at rank 3, because skills level up based on usage, if you want to get it up to rank 3, you have to have vigor at rank 3 because it's like a limiter. So very similar to Shadowrun in that sense. So the reason I say that you should do professions first, because professions give you a starting bonus in those stats. So it's best to note those down first, and then you get points to spend. So you choose a profession. There's 9 to 10 professions. I can't tell. I think there's about 10 professions. Those are kind of like my version of classes. But I didn't call them classes because classes, when you call it a class, it seems very limiting in a sense, because classes are kind of limiting. You know, they kind of pigeonhole you into certain play styles. Like if you play a fighter, you know, you're going to be whacking different kinds of weapons, wearing armors, you know. Here it's not like that, because 2 reasons. Because of the setting, that's number 1, because obviously it's totally different. There's no plate mail, you know, it's all you know, it's like heavy leather armor is the most you get, you know.
Was it lacquered armor they used, if I remember rightly?
So basically, yeah, you either have clothing or you have like a ninja outfit, which is kind of like half clothing, half armor, or a battle priest armor, which is half clothing, half armor as well, but in a different way. Or you have like light armor, which is like that folding armor, which is kind of, it's very, very thin. Or you have medium armor, which is like samurai armor. And then you have like elite armor, which is still medium. There's only one type of heavy armor in the game, which is the one that you get from from the clans that trade with Western powers, which literally has like a breastplate on the samurai armor. So anyway, my point is there was no need for like classes, because I felt, you know, I don't even need this restrictions here, because the professions are just kind of like little bonuses to start with. You can literally build your character any way you want. There's no restrictions. You can use any kind of weapon, any kind of, you're just limited by the stats you put in, and that's it. So you pick a profession first, but the big thing is here that the professions, they basically they give you like social limitations.
Okay.
So like if you're a samurai, for example, if you pick samurai as your profession, you're basically a noble. So you have a kind of like noble privileges. You know, you are the superior to many people in that sense, but you have a very strict code that you have to follow, very similar to a paladin. So if you break that code, you suffer dishonor. If you suffer too much dishonor, you're gonna have to.
Yep.
Yeah. So I'm saying that. So I would pick a profession first, and then once you get the profession, you would note down all your bonuses, your stat bonuses, your skill bonuses, your starting gear, your starting wealth, any starting traits. Traits are kind of like they're more RP mechanics than anything else. It's kind of like charismatic, or humble, stuff like that. It kind of defines what your character is all about. You usually pick 2, but certain professions give you an extra one. Like if you're a monk, you get the pious, obviously, trait. So you kind of have to act accordingly. Anyway, so you would pick that, and then once you have that, you would note down those bonuses, and then you would basically get the points to spend in your stats. That's extra points.
Okay, is it the same number regardless of which profession you choose?
Yes, the points to spend extra. Yeah, but certain professions get some professions might get more in the total, but that depends on what kind of profession they are.
Yeah. So you'll have your fixed bonuses within your profession, and then you
Yes.
might get 10 points to spend.
Yes,
And everybody gets 10 points regardless of the profession.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes, and the ratio is always 1-to-1, so it's very easy to assign. It's not like point buy in D&D where it's like, oh, it costs 3 points to get up to, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I have 10 points, I could really throw all of them into vigor, and then I have vigor at 10.
Yeah.
And the stats all go from 0 to 10. Yeah.
Okay.
So then after you do that, I don't know. What would you do? Hold on. Let me
Okay.
go through
So we've. Sorry, Vicky. Do you want to go?
No. I think you can.
Yeah. So we've chosen a profession. We've
Mhm.
got initial bonuses to our stats. We've
Yes.
got some starting gear, some wealth. We got some traits. We got a code or social rank, depending on which profession we chose.
Profession? Yeah.
Yep. We've now spent our points to round off our stats.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get skills at this point?
Okay, so this is actually the next step. So then you would actually get the points you spend. Everything is done through the skills. So basically, if you, let's say, skills have ranks from 0 to 10. 0 means you're inept at it, which means you only have 1 die. And then getting at least rank 1 means you have an extra die. So you have 2 dice at rank 1. And then as you further go on, each rank has a certain bonus it gives you in that skill. So you can specialize in sub skills, or you can unlock abilities at certain ranks. So if you get a skill up to rank 3, you get an ability in that skill that's unique for that skill. So for instance, let's say if I put my athletics up to rank 3 at least, I would get adrenaline, which is basically it removes fatigue and restores a bunch of your resources. And basically each non-combat skill has a unique ability tied to it, and then if you go higher in ranks, it actually upgrades further on. The combat skills work the same way, but when you also get an ability at rank 3, but then when you get to rank 5 and 7, so it doesn't upgrade it gives you an actual new one. So you collect skills more, you get more skills from combat skills, obviously, because you have like various techniques and all that stuff. So all the abilities come directly from the skills by leveling up to a certain rank.
Okay. So do I get a set number of skill points to spend at this part?
Yes.
Okay. And I can put them in any skills, 1 for 1 again?
1 for 1. The only limitation is your sort of meta skill or whatever you want to call it.
You can't go above the stat. So
Yes.
if you got a vigor of 3, any vigor
Your
skills
attribute, I
can't
guess.
go higher than 3. Yeah.
Yeah. The other limitation is your character rank. So usually players start off with a rank character tier. So usually players start off with a tier 4. That means that you can't put any of your stats or skills above rank 4. That's the limitation. Tier 4, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you start off as a higher rank, you put it, but that doesn't mean later on, obviously, when you play, obviously you can go higher, but at character creation, that's kind of your barrier.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're talking. The profession is only basically my starting. It gives me what I start with, and then otherwise it has no bearing from that point.
No,
it doesn't level up.
Just has social bearings. That's it.
That's it. Fantastic. The character tier. So I'm tier 4.
4 is the usual starting point for players. Yeah.
Yeah.
The NPCs can go from 1 to 10. Characters usually go from 4 to 10. You can have a tier 1 as well, but it's like super weak. So 4 is a bit. you start off a bit higher, so you have a little bit more to spend. Otherwise, you'd be very weak.
So we start at tier 4,
Mhm.
and there's so many questions I got at this point. So I'm going to start
Okay,
start
yeah,
with
go
them
ahead.
one at a time. How do I get my tier up?
So again, the tier is literally the tier just determines two things: your maximum rank at character creation
Yeah,
and the amount of points you spend at character creation. That's it.
that's it. So
Yeah, once you start, there's no limitations from there.
oh, right. Okay. So the tier is we're starting a standard campaign where you lot are experienced.
It's like
but
a
not
level.
too experienced.
It's almost like a level, you know,
Yeah.
in a sense.
Does that mean if you start at a higher tier, you get more attribute points and skill points to spend?
Yeah.
Okay. So your tier.
To
is
give you an
effectively-
example,
Yeah.
to give you an example, like tier 4, you have your maximum rank in anything you assign is 4, and you get 6 attribute points and 8 skill points. And then if you were to start as tier 7, your maximum rank is 7, and you get 12 attribute points and 16 skill points. But that's all at character creation. Once your character's done, those limitations are gone.
Fantastic. Okay.
Yeah.
How do I? So that's answered quite a bit. This is very much a skills-based game.
Oh yeah.
Where your skills really define your character. It's not your class, and your skills give you all your abilities. Not your class.
Your profession kind of defines your, I would say, your RP and your social.
Yeah.
Sort of. So it's kind of like your RP is kind of based on your profession. I mean, it also kind of defines your skills in a way, because it does help you increase them from the start, so you have a nice little leg up. Because it is sometimes hard to get from those 0 rank skills up. So it does, it gives you a little bit of a nudge in the direction you want to go.
Okay, so we're now playing the game.
Yes.
Do I earn XP and spend that, or do I earn something like karma, or is there a mechanic that automatically levels my skills?
There's both. So basically what happens is there's 2 types of XP that you get. One is attribute XP, and one is bonus XP. So attribute XP is basically whenever you get an epic roll, so a crit or whatever you want to call it, you get an amount of attribute XP equal to half the amount of successes you got. So if you got 5 successes, it rounds up, so you get 3 attribute XP in the attribute that you used. So let's say if you critted on athletics is a part of vigor, you get 3 vigor XP, right? And then you also get bonus XP. Bonus XP is what you get from quests. So when you complete a quest, you get bonus XP. Now, here's the thing. If you want to spend XP to improve your skills or your attributes, you can improve both. You have to spend at least 1 attribute XP, but you can add any amount of bonus XP to it. So let's say if you need 5 XP to rank up your vigor to rank 2, let's say, or whatever. You would need 5. Let's say you need 5. You only have 3 in vigor, but you have 6 in bonus. So you would take, let's say, 2 from your vigor and then add 3 from your bonus. That's 5. Boom, you're up.
Okay, yeah.
So it's a combination of RP or completing quests and like just rolling well.
Yes. So nice. Your bonus XP is effectively your top up XP. It's used to top up the missing XP to level something.
And also, there's also 2 more ways of getting it, or actually, I should say 1. There's training. Basically, you can use downtime to train, and then you basically, like, if you're training a combat skill, you literally rent a dojo, and then the next time you start the session, you roll that skill that you were training. If you roll it over a certain difficulty, you get a little bit of XP in that. But that's for combat skills. For non-combat skills, you get you basically get to collect these little collectibles called literature, and then you read them, and it gives you a bonus. But it's like only once per character and there's different volumes. So basically, they're like these little collectibles you can sprinkle out through the campaign, and then everyone can benefit from it a little bit.
Okay,
so it's kind of like free XP, but basically you put it as a reward, like somewhere. Yeah.
Okay, I think I'm beginning to get an understanding here, and I just want to kind of close the loop. So I've got ways of earning XP. XP is typically earned according to the attribute that I got the epic success in. Yeah, so that would be vigor, dex, insight, charisma, was it? And budo.
Yes.
Budo's a separate one
Combat.
for this? Yeah, combat.
That's combat, yeah.
Okay. That XP can only be spent on that attribute or the skills within that attribute?
Yes.
Okay, but then anything I'm short on, I can top up with my bonus XP.
Yes. The only
Brilliant.
caveat is you have to spend at least one attribute XP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't just spend just bonus.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Does it cost me more to take up my attribute compared to the skills?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But when I've got skills that are pretty much maxed, you've got to take your attribute up.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the sort of scaling on that? Is it a fixed amount of XP per level, or is there a kind of ramped scaling?
No. It's so basically for attributes. Well, so I put 3 different costs depending on the kind of the speed of the campaign or the progression speed you want to pick. So if you, let's say normal, let's say if you pick normal, then raising your attribute would cost 5 times your current rank in that attribute. So you have vigor 3, getting up to 4 would cost 15. And for skills, it's times 3. So if you have like a rank 2, it would cost 6 to get to 3.
Okay, so it's a kind of a straight line up. It gets more and more expensive the further you go in. Okay, so whilst you don't have a class, but every aspect of your character can level up. Yeah. Not too dissimilar, as you said, to something like Shadowrun. And as my skill goes up, I get abilities that are tied to that skill, and I get additional D12s at certain points.
Correct.
And when I get it to 10, how many D12s will I be rolling when I use that skill?
Oof, actually, I don't know. Let's check. So you would get, let's see. Give me a sec. I was not.
That's okay.
I just got to find my table. There we go. Okay, so at rank 0, which is attributes always start at rank 1, but skills start at rank 0. So it's like 0 is like you're unskilled in that skill. So that's 1 die at 0. At rank 1 is an extra die, and then at rank 4 is an extra die, and at rank 8 is an extra die. But that would be 4 dice at rank 8 or 10 as well, because there's no extra dice at 9 and 10, but you get other things. But there's also specialties. So basically, a specialty is a subset, like a sub-skill, so that you pick, and you get to pick it 3 times until rank 10. So that's literally the extra die. So let's say, for instance, for athletics, let's pick athletics. You have 2 specialties. You have strength and you have traversal. So strength is literally, moving a boulder or whatever. Traversal is like swimming, climbing, stuff like that. If let's say you have a specialty in traversal and you're using athletics to do that, and you have like 1 specialty in traversal, that's an extra die. If you have 2 specialties in traversal, that's 2 extra dice for doing specifically that.
Okay, so you can choose the same specialty more than once.
Yeah, so I would say without specialties, you would roll 4 dice at rank 10, which is not a lot, but the whole point is you have specialties. So at the most, you would roll 7.
Yeah. Okay.
I like rolling dice.
Yeah. So
I didn't want to go overboard because there are D12s at the end of the day. They're not D6s. And I know that it's fun in Shadowrun, but like taking this many dice and just going like this is a little crazy. I don't know. I wanted to find a balance.
How much does it cost me to get a skill from 0 to 1? Because obviously 3 times 0, which would be the current rank, is 0.
It's the same as 1.
It's the same as 1. Okay.
Yeah.
So I was wondering whether there was like an additional tax for learning the skill to begin with.
No, but there is one thing you can do. It's called basic training. So if you have a skill with rank 0 and you're in a city that offers basic training in that skill, you can pay some money to get that training, and then you roll that skill, and if you succeed, you get it to rank 1 immediately. Okay. So, but that's only from 0 to 1. So it's like you can do that fairly easily.
Yeah,
it's just a little bit of money and a decent roll.
Okay, I like what I've seen so far. A very robust character creation, lots of options to choose from. It looks like you could spend hours tweaking and altering, and then when it comes to planning, there's a lot you can plan, because you're not just thinking, I got one set of XP to spend. You've got all these little buckets of XP. So you might be lucky enough to get one of your lesser used attributes, getting a load of XP, and all of a sudden, skills you didn't think you were going to be able to level, you can now level. And it opens up different paths for your character to develop. Yeah.
But you are kind of incentivized to specialize, because otherwise you're never going to get all the XP you need to get like a skill to like a really high level. Which is how professions help, because they give you a little boost, they give a little starting boost in that.
Yeah.
And then direction, isn't it?
Yeah, you can be a jack of all trades, but I would say the jack of all trades in this game don't fare as well as like in other games. Like, like in 5e, you had the Bard, which is literally just, I have thousands of skills. I'm not super great at all of them, but I have hundreds of them. Here, you can do that to an extent, but it's because this fits with the setting perfectly, because it's, Japanese are all about perfection, so it's like, let's do this one thing and let's do it really, really well. And that's what kind of the idea is behind here. Just capitalize on what you're really good at,
Yeah, but that's where the bonus XP comes in. That's helping you hyper specialize and to focus. So you could be in a position where you got some skills you rarely use, but you get lucky and you've got enough raw XP, attribute XP, to level that skill. And it's not cutting into your bonus XP, and it's just a little bonus on the side.
Yeah, and that was added later, because at the beginning there was only attributes XP, and I realized, and there were no books as well. And early as people were like really slowly leveling, even if they were critting, it was so slow. So my choice was either to lower the costs, but if I lowered them too much, they would advance
go
too quickly.
Shooting up. Yeah,
exactly. Because it's kind of common to roll a crit here, but it's not that big of a deal in that sense, because it's not a crit in D&D, where it's an automatic success. It might not be, depending on what you're doing. In terms of you're hitting someone, you get that extra 4 successes. I got 6 successes. Well, he rolled 7 on his defense.
Yeah.
So So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that crits are much more common. So then I had this problem, like, what do I do here? And then I thought, well, what if I split them half and half? And then basically they're incentivized to complete quests, and at the same time they're incentivized to use skills, and combining those two, they kind of go together.
Yeah, I like that.
I like it too. I like it too. There's
a lot of people that hate that idea of buying XP from like books and stuff. I don't. I think it's good. As long as you don't overdo it.
It's different, and I think you're right. It fits the setting, and that's what matters the most. I would like to do a bit more of a deep dive now into the rolling of the D12s to get successes. Is the target number I'm looking to roll against always a 7?
No.
So what sets that number?
So usually I would say that 7 is the norm. So 7 would be normal difficulty. And then anything lower than that would be easier, and higher than that would be harder. So because 7 is literally 50% on a die. So because it's 1 to 6 and 7 to 12, so that's literally 50-50. So 7 is the median. So that's kind of like the default difficulty, which usually is the case with combat. So in combat, whatever you are doing, usually it's going to start at 7, but then it's going to get modified depending on what's going on. The target's prone. Well, that's 1 less of hitting it in melee. Oh, you're in range. That's 1 higher instead. Stuff like that. But then in when you're performing tasks, again, you're going to take 7 as the median, but then you're going to say, well, that's normal. And then, I don't know, let's say he's doing something pretty easy or trivial. You can drop it down as low as 3. Or you can raise it up as high as 11.
So it can range between 3 and 11 as your kind of range of difficulty in combat. It's normally your situational modifiers and stuff outside of combat, the difficulty of the task, and whether it's pouring with rain or anything like that. Fantastic.
Basically, always start at 7 and then just go up and down. It's like it's how kind of where D&D this is kind of where I got the idea, is where D&D had the advantage and disadvantage, which after a while it started to becoming seriously lacking. at the beginning it sounded like a great idea, but then the more I used it, I was like, man, this is because if he's you can't stack advantages but you should kind of, because let's say if there's so many circumstances which should prompt you to make something way easier, no, it's just advantage. And I thought, well, that's kind of stupid. And I thought, why do I do start at 7 and then say, okay, he's prone, I'm attacking in melee. Okay, that's 6. That's so -1. But I'm also fatigued or whatever. This is also another mechanic. Well, that's +1. Well, down I'm back up 7, right? So everything is included. Nothing is omitted in terms of the circumstances. So everything comes into play.
So that's absolutely great. We've gone in depth on those dice, and I love it because it does remind me of the Shadowrun system that I used to love. But I also love the fact that you've used my favorite dice, which is D12. I do love a good D12.
The D12 is an underappreciated die.
It is, but I've also noticed whenever I use D12s, I can either be really lucky or really unlucky.
And that's the gist of the game.
Yep. And
that's really why I use it. But I use a D10 because I thought also there was a reason I was like, for once I was a D10. Well, it's good, but also there's more gradient with a D12 because you can go lower and higher with the difficulty. And also it's a little different than me just stealing the the D12. You know what I mean? I was like, I gotta change it a little bit.
No, and I think that's nice, and D12s are good fun, and they roll nicely. I always gravitate to the dice that roll nicely.
D10 is weird because it's like two
yeah,
what do I call, 2 cones basically. It doesn't roll well. This one's an even. I mean, they're all even, but this one's like two. I mean, it's like almost like a D20 in a way.
Yeah. There's a better roll. It's almost way rounded, better, so you get that lovely roll with it.
You know, initially I was thinking of like, what if I do a D14 or a D16? But then I looked at those dice and I'm like, oh God, nobody's gonna have them, number one, and then B, even if they get them, it would probably, it's horrible to roll. I've seen some games that use them apparently, but I was like, no. It would be better. It would be better because I had more gradient. But then the only other option was D20, and that's like, nah. Rolling 5 D20s doesn't work.
There's nothing wrong with rolling 5 D20s, and you'll be surprised it works really well.
I did, but I don't know, man. When I tried 12s, it was so much better.
No, for your system, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially with the way you've done your critical successes and fumbles, I think the D12 works far better.
Yeah, works well.
I tried all of them, and that one literally was the best option.
Brilliant.
So I think games designers the world over, one of the things we love messing around with is different dice systems and playing around with them. So I love the fact that you settled on that. But we were earlier talking about the game, and it's Senshi, and it's based in feudal Japan. So when I think about that, I think, well, you're only going to have humans, aren't you?
Yes.
Now,
we can put a little caveat on that for the expansion.
Oh, caveat for expansion. That'll be interesting. So if we're looking at mainly human,
playable is still
playable is. Yes. We'll delve into that in a second. So if we've got humans, does that mean you have then broken that down by different nationalities? So maybe you've got bonuses if you're Japanese, or have you got anything for the colonials or for the wider? Because I'm assuming that your setting's very earthbound.
I know where you're going with this. Well, here's the thing. I did it a different way because, again, I was the setting is literally, for the base game I'm talking without the expansion, the setting is literally a hard setting. So I literally just wanted to just capture the essence of that timeline and then just put it in the game. I'm not even attempting to, alter things. I'm just trying to literally just like a historical view of that time. So if you look at the historical view of that time, this takes place in 1575. So that's towards the end of the 16th century, which is kind of the last 25 to 30 years of the Warring States period, which is sorry, which is a period of 300 years of civil war. So basically, everyone was killing each other. So, and also it was also a period of isolation. So nobody, well, not full isolation, kind of partial isolation. Most outsiders were kind of, I mean, they were allowed to come over, but it was like, they were kind of shunned, and it was like kind of, it was you would get looks like if you were a Westerner or someone not from Japan, it would be like, what's this guy doing here? It's because it's kind of like it was a partial isolation. The only people who actually could get through were traders from like China and Portuguese and English, and that's about it. And basically, the main difference here, I would say, is not races, because obviously we have only one, but it's like nationalities. But most of the time, you're playing a Japanese person. If you want, you can go in the different direction. Let's say pay a Portuguese trader or something, right? You can go that route, but it's gonna be a little
it's gonna be harder, isn't it? At the end of the day,
it is.
It's based in Japan. It's based on feudal Japan,
which is very homogenized.
Yeah, and you're gonna have, I would say, additional things you need to overcome in order for an outsider to be good within that setting.
And they've been burned by, like some recent, international diplomatic situations. So it's like there's a lot of distrust for foreigners in the country. So you can definitely play one, but depending on where you're from you can literally, like, there's no limit to this. So I didn't put any bonuses or that. I did think about doing that. But at one point I was like, I mean, what do I do? Like, do I give what I give a guy from let's say England? He comes from. What do I give him? Like, what kind of bonus would he get? I couldn't put my finger on it.
Tea drinking.
Tea, sure. It's like they also drink tea. Like, they're big on green tea as well. So it's like
that's
you
true.
Stand out.
Yeah.
You stand out because of the tea. Everyone's into tea there. So it's
that's not gonna work, is it?
Exactly. So I was thinking of this. I was rolling it in my head. I was like, nah, screw it. I'm not gonna give any sort of bonus. But you can do it. You can just say, okay, you can just work with your GM and say, okay, I'm gonna play, I don't know, a guy from Netherlands who kind of came here for XY reason. And then he kind of has to figure out, okay, well, how's the local populace going to look at you? And he kind of has to, the GM has to kind of work that in.
Some negatives and some positives, depending, so that it's more acclimatized.
But here's the thing. Let me just finish this one point, because here's the thing: the biggest distinction, really, because you would get looks, maybe it wouldn't be like outright, like bigotry necessarily, but the biggest one would be religion.
Yeah.
If you come out as a Christian over there, that is, and that's also a link to the expansion, because we might get into that a bit. But the point is, everyone there will also homogenize via religion, which was Shinto, which is still the dominant religion today, I'm pretty sure. And then if you're even if you're a Buddhist monk, that was a bit outside the norm, because Shinto and Buddhism were kind of diametrically opposed in a way. Mm-hmm. So, and I kind of go through that in the book. So it's like that alone would kind of make you a bit more, I guess that would count as a race in a way, like races do in other games that would kind of work similarly here.
So dividing it by sort of religion, religion as opposed to that's quite interesting.
Because if I can give you a little bit of, this is kind of funny, but it's true apparently. Hold on, let me just find my. So let's say, the punishment for like certain crimes in that time, I put a nice little, the law, I call it the law. And then, so criticizing or plotting against the shogun, death, whichever method. Murder or treason, death by hanging. Promoting a non-native religion, death by upside down hanging.
Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
Killing a relative or spouse, crucifixion. Arson, death by immolation, etc. So basically, they were they had zero tolerance. Like if you could go there and you could have been from a different religion, but you had to keep it to yourself. You had to be like, okay, if I'm a Christian, I'm going to be a Christian. That's it. If you start spreading it, it's like that's
so no missionaries. But if you wanted to,
but they were
practice
missionaries there,
yeah.
so you could play one. And actually, I'll give you a little bit of funny tidbit. In one of my campaigns, the pirate one of the players decided he wants to play a Christian missionary who wants to kind of reform the pirates, and so he joined up, and there was a lot of really funny stuff involving all that. The way he had to kind of hide his religion, but at the same time spread it. It's like playing on God tier difficulty, basically. Because everyone's out to get you. If you make one mistake, you could end up on dead. So it's harder, but it can be done.
Well, it's quite interesting because you mentioned at the beginning about the artwork that you delved into, and you found a lot of the ancient art from the time that you could utilize. And now we've just mentioned about the religions. So I've got a little side question for you, which is just how much research did you have to do around the history of the time in Japan in order for you to create your setting?
A lot. Well, I knew quite a bit already because, like I said, I've been a fan of this period for a while, so I had quite a decent amount of knowledge to begin with. But I had to do a lot when it came to the details. Like, for instance, when it came to the items and the classification of items, because you have to understand, like, specifically, Japan is like the land of martial arts. That's a fact. Like 80% of the stuff came from there. Everything from karate to kendo to judo, everything. So, but then you got to realize that it didn't come all from the same period, and also it didn't come from the same place. A lot of stuff came from Osaka, which is the no, not Osaka. Sorry. I'm blanking out. Anyway, the point is that's where I had to do a lot of research. Like, okay, so where did this martial art come from? Okay, how is it used? What's the kind of the gist of it? What are the different names of the weapons? How are they used? Because then I had to assign them different things that those weapons you can do with those weapons and stuff like that, and also tie them to the martial techniques, aka the abilities. So that took a lot of research.
Well, that's going to be great because Dean will be delving into weapons, armor, and gear in a little bit with you. So we will be opening that box during this interview. I'm going to interrupt you to say to everyone, if you like what we're doing here, could you please like and subscribe? Please share. Please let people know, because we are a small channel. We are championing indies and we want to grow. And you can help us do that by sharing, by subscribing, and by liking our content. Leave us a comment. All right. We'll always check. And if you put something on there, we can have a chat. Let us know. Right. Sebastian.
Do it, guys. They're small, but they got potential for growth.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's the aim. That's the aim indeed. So this is great because you've done an awful lot of research. And so what we're going to do, I actually want to swap things around, Dean.
Yeah, I would like to too. Yeah.
I want to bring through the armor, weapons, and gear because that feels more natural. And I think then after that, I am going to delve into my favorite subject, spells and craft and all of that good stuff, because that you cover more in depth in your expansion, Shadows of the East.
Well, I only cover there. Yeah.
So I think if we move what we normally do here, which is me delving into spellcraft and getting all excited, to after, let us take, because I think the fact that you've spent time researching, I love. Because something like this, it deserves that sort of love and attention. It's really important. So, Dean, we've started touching on armors and weapons.
We have, and I love a system that's got a lot of gear. I find that just breathes life into it.
Too.
It's stuff your character can use, and it's part of the setting, part of the. It becomes part of your character. My first big question, though. And it's an important one. I think this is the defining question. Do you use encumbrance?
Generally, yes.
Yeah. How is that
done? Well, it's done in a simple way. Basically, every item has a weight. It's measured in kilograms. You have a certain amount that you can carry. Your maximum amount, so that's basically the amount you can carry while still moving, and then half of that is when you are encumbered, which means you get penalties to your agility. So yeah, that's basically it. It's not. I didn't go too into depth on those rules in terms of encumbrance. I actually put it in a. I put the encumbrance rules in like a side. Well, actually, it was part of the main rules, but kind of I put a little side note that said, you can also play without if you want, but basically, it is kind of recommended that you play with it because it's a hard setting. Therefore, you don't have magic to lighten your load. You can't summon a floating disc and put stuff on it.
No, you can't.
No bags holding in this setting.
No bags. No. Exactly. Yeah. Well, we can get the expansion on that, but basically, the point is here in the base setting, and also the expansion, it does have its own sort of magic items, but it's a low magic, so it doesn't really solve this problem that much. It's like it's still something you have to keep mind of. It's don't carry too much stuff with you, and also when it comes to actual volume of your capacity, there's no rule to that, but it's kind of like common sense. If you could theoretically, you could carry, I don't know, 500 daggers weight wise, but you couldn't carry them. How are you going to carry them physically?
Yeah.
So it's like just so I went, okay, make sure you keep a watch on your weight of your items, and when it comes to like just sheer volume, just make sure the GM keeps an eye a bit on that and be like, okay, how are you actually transporting this physically?
Okay. Let's focus on weapons first. How does a weapon work?
Very simple. So basically, a weapon uses a Budo skill. So each weapon type is tied to a certain Budo skill. So you have 4 groups of weapons. I actually should say 5. I'll say 4 plus 1. Basically, you have swords, you have staves, you have ranged weapons, you have exotic weapons, and you have unarmed weapons. So actually, there's no unarmed weapons, just unarmed. So hand to hand. Actually, there are some unarmed weapons, but they actually count as exotic.
Okay.
Because it's like a prototype brass knuckle from that time. It's called a Tekko, and basically it's like literally it looks like a disc, and then it has like these really studs on it, and it's
I think I know what you're on about. Yes.
Yeah. So that one, but actually counts as an exotic weapon because again, I had to do a lot of research on this. Like, where is each weapon being used? Which martial art is it used with? And that took a lot of research and a lot of mistakes on my end from the beginning. So, and then I kind of straightened out. I straightened out some things in a revised edition. So basically, you have swords, staves, ranged weapons, and exotic weapons. Swords are then broken down into long swords, short swords, and daggers. And then staff weapons are broken down into polearms and blunt weapons. So polearms are basically the naginata. That's basically like a long polearm with a blade at the end. A yari, which is a spear. And the blunt weapons, which is like the bow, the hambo, and the jo, which are like various lengths of wooden quarterstaffs, basically.
Okay, yeah.
And then ranged weapons are divided into bows, and you have the long bow and the great bow. So, because there's no short bow in Japan, there's like big bow or giant bow. So you don't get a short bow. And then there's throwing weapons, which there's a bunch of different ones, like shurikens and throwing grenades and all that stuff. And then there's firearms, which there were in this time, but they're expensive and they're matchlock, so they take a long time to reload. And then there's there's exotic weapons like ninjutsu weapons. Those are literally weapons for ninjas specifically. They literally get their own subset of weapons and equipment they can use exclusively. And then there's kobujutsu weapons. Those are like weapons from Okinawa. That's the island I wanted to say before. So Okinawa was the main island for like where a lot of martial arts were born there. So, and there was a lot of specific, like crazy exotic weapons that came from there, like chains and like sai, those 3-pronged
Yeah.
The one that I don't know, I think it's Raphael in the Ninja Turtles. He uses it.
Yes.
Okay, so and then you also have improvised weapons, which is the Kusari Fundo, which is like a metallic chain you can throw around someone, and like a giant wooden hammer and all that kind of stuff. The Tsubo is like a huge studded bat. And then even stuff like Tessenjutsu weapons, where you have like a fan with blades in the middle. They can really be used as a martial art to like block blows and then cut necks and all that stuff.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. So there's a whole range of authentic weaponry.
Yes.
Mechanically, how do the weapons work?
I mean, just simple. Basically, you use the skill that's associated to it. You roll it just like you would any other skill. The difficulty is dependent on the conditions in combat. So basically, 7 is the default difficulty. That's modified by things that are happening.
If they're prone, or if you're fatigued,
they're prone. If you're fatigued, if you're blinded, if he's blind, whatever. For every positive on your end, the difficulty is 1 lower. For every negative on your end, it's 1 higher. So, and then you just calculate the pluses and the minus. You get so if you have 2 minuses and 3 pluses, you have 1 plus. So it's 1 lower than normal difficulty. That's it. That's basically how you use it.
So if I make an attack, I'm using a katana, for example. I've got 4 dice. I roll the dice. My difficulties are standard. They're 7. I get 2 successes. Does that mean I've hit my opponent, or is my opponent allowed to try and evade? Or
active defense? Everyone has active defense. So your opponent would then basically roll 2 things. He would roll his dodge dice, which is actually equal to his agility dice plus his reflexes subspecialty in agility. So let's say if he has 3 dice in agility and then he has the reflexes specialty, let's say he has 1 rank in that, he would roll 4 dice on his dodge.
Yeah.
And then you add to that your armor dice. If you have any sort of armor that would give you physical armor dice. And then you just add those dice together, you roll them. So if you got 4 successes, and let's say if he got 4 successes, he deflected it. If he got 3 successes or lower, you went 1 over at least, and that resolves on how much damage you did.
Okay.
Plus the bonuses you get from the actual weapons quality, which there are 8 of. Each weapon has 8 levels of quality. Higher levels of quality can add damage bonuses. So let's say if you have a quality 1 that has no bonuses, so it would be literally just the difference in successes, it would result in the wounds he got. If let's say you got like +2 damage, that would be another 2 on top of that. And also each weapon has a unique property. So for instance, let's say you have 3 different types of longswords. You have the katana, the odachi, and the shikomizue. The katana we know the katana, right? The odachi is basically a really long katana. It's like think Japanese greatsword, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like almost 2 meter long like katana. And then the shikomizue is a staff sword. So it's like hidden in it's like a walking stick, and then you pull out the sword like Zatoichi.
Okay.
And then so if you use a katana gives you an extra success versus unarmored, clothed, or lightly armored foes. So if you hit one of those, you get an extra success on top of your existing successes.
So it's not an extra die, it's just a straight extra success.
It's extra success, but you have to have at least 1. You have to, if you don't get any successes, you don't get the bonus.
Right. So you have to roll, work out what your successes are, and then add any of your automatic successes on top of that.
But that's specifically for the katana, that's called the keen property that gives you an extra success. The odachi doesn't have that. The odachi gives you 2 extra dice when charging, but it gives you 1 minus die when not charging, since it's so unwieldy. So it's like each weapon has its own little subset, its own little property that it gives you. And if the shikomizue, for example, is a covert weapon, which means that the first attack you do within the combat is a surprise attack, because they don't see the sword coming out of the staff. Okay. So stuff like that. So it's modified.
You, though? So that one gives you a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah. If they're surprised, they can't use their dodge dice, only their armor dice.
Okay, fantastic. So the number of successes I've now got over my opponent's avoidance with armor is the damage plus any bonus damage from the weapon.
Yes. Or whatever property the weapon has that somehow modifies
Okay,
roll.
so if the weapon gives you automatic successes versus certain types, unarmored, etc., that's effectively pumping up your damage or allowing you to get through the mitigation.
And its quality gives you damage bonus, like specifically on top of that, if you have a high quality weapon.
Okay, so you can, your quality can give you just a flat bonus damage whenever you cause damage to your opponent. Add another 2
or armor
add another
damage
3.
or armor damage, because armor can also get damaged.
Okay.
See, now we're getting into crunchiness. That's
it's perfectly fine. So I've hit. I'm now scoring damage. That damage comes off. I believe you said it was vigor you use for your effective hit points.
The vigor the vigor defines how many maximum wounds you can take. So basically, and those wounds are separated into 4 types. You have light wounds, medium wounds, severe wounds, and deadly wounds. Basically, they accumulate from the smallest to the largest. So let's say if you have 1 maximum light wound, 1 maximum medium, 1 maximum severe, and 1 maximum deadly, you have 4 in total.
Mm-hmm.
So if you would have gotten 2 wounds in total, that means you would have gotten 1 light and 1 medium. So you go from up in severity. And the thing is, that comes into play then later mechanically when it comes to healing. And also, once you get past severe, you can pass out from your wounds, or you get blood loss, which is basically like you're losing so much blood, you get fatigued and all other stuff. So it's a little bit more complex on the wound side. I would say that.
It actually because I think you said you gave me a range. I'm just seeing where the range is. That vigor could be anywhere from sort of 6 to 16. I think you said
thereabouts. I'm not sure if I did give you the right number, but the point is it's a small gradient between a low vigor character and a high vigor character. But it's a table. So it's not like literally, okay, if you have 5 vigor, you have 5 wounds. It's like you check the table to see how many you actually have. But I think the maximum, I think the maximum you can actually have is like 5 light, 4 medium, 3 severe, or something along those lines. Maybe even more. I don't know. I'm speaking from memory.
No, it's perfectly fine. But effectively, then you get. No, I think that's quite straightforward. So it's literally you've combined kind of avoidance and armor together. The successes you get plus then the weapon is the damage, including any traits of the weapon.
And those traits. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, as you stack up wounds, do you get penalties as you go through the wound categories?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, what happens is. There's different types of wounds you can get. There's normal wounds, it's just normal wounds. Those accumulate. If you get a bleeding wound, which are all wounds past your severe wound threshold, every wound you get when you're severely wounded, every wound you get after that is bleeding. And then every time you come to your turn, you have to check how many bleeding wounds you have, and the amount of how many you have, that's how much blood loss you get. And you can only have 15 blood loss maximum. That's like a timer, essentially. And if you don't patch up that wound through a bandage, it's going to start accumulating more and more. And once you hit certain thresholds, it's going to give you further and further penalties. So when you get to 5 blood loss, you get 1 fatigue. And that gives you a -1 die on everything.
Okay.
Once you get to 10, it's -2. And then 15, you're dead.
Yeah, there's a couple of layers here that I can see to the health and the general well-being of your character.
That's where the crunchiness comes in. It's usually with the wounds.
It does, but if the crunchiness adds value, that's not bad. And I think
it does.
What you're doing here, the 15 is quite nice. It's how much blood every human body has. Your 15 points worth.
And obviously, big animals like bears have more.
Good. That's pretty good. Yeah, I like that. So
just one more thing. When you said regards to the dodge, basically there's weapons that even can modify that. So if you shoot someone with a bow, they don't get to roll their full dodge, but only half of it because it's a fast weapon.
Yeah.
So bows are better at hitting targets. Generally speaking, if you throw a grenade, which is hard to get, you only get to use half their dodge and half their armor because of the shrapnel. So it's like, and if they're surprised, they can't use armor at all. And if they get attacked and unarmed, they can only use their dodge, not their armor. So it's like different every weapon has kind of its own thing. So it's not like a standard just roll, check a number, hit, miss.
Yeah. Does that mean the combat can be quite, and this isn't a bad thing, by the way, but the combat can be quite a measured, tense affair that could take a period of time. But during that, any single round could be a big swing from one thing to another.
Yes, in that sense, it can swing in another direction very quickly. And also, but it doesn't take long. That's the thing. Usually, combat is very quick. Like if you, I did a lot of comparisons to this because this is something that I wanted to fix in my own way because I played a lot of 5e. I did play some older editions, but I think like D&D in general, like combat can grind down to a slog very quickly, especially if you're doing like a because of the amount of hit points you have. Because like you get hit for 30, you get hit for 20. Oh, okay, but now I heal for 50. Okay, I'm back to my full. You know what I mean? Here you can't do that. So mid combat healing is very rare, and also you need a special kind of profession for that. You need an actual doctor in the party with a specialty that he can heal mid combat. Because there's one thing that I forgot to mention is that there is one thing that a profession does in terms of kind of pigeonholing you or whatever. Not really, but it gives you a unique passive ability. So that is something that kind of distinguishes you from everyone else. And a doctor can like pick two different ones depending on what they choose. One is herbalism, so that means they can gather herbs and basically make ointments and kind of take care of your wounds, of your long-term wounds more easily. The other is field surgeon, and that one is basically that can take care of your in-combat wounds. And you need field surgeon if you're actually going to get rid of wounds mid-combat. So,
okay.
Otherwise, the wounds last, and you have to kill them in the normal way by resting.
Yeah. How long does that take to recover your wounds when resting?
It's depends on your vigor. So the more vigor you have, the quicker your wounds heal. If you use herbal ointments, that speeds it up. If you have a doctor who has like a special ability, that speeds it up even further. If you're resting in a comfortable accommodation, if you eat high quality food, if you drink high quality drink, if you have pleasurable company, those all speed up your healing process.
Yeah. So is it a period of, I'm seriously wounded? Am I out for days, weeks, or?
Depends. So let's say, there's two rules generally. Once you hit your maximum severe wounds, you drop unconscious, but you can still rise up. You start accumulating blood loss, but you can still rise up and you can still patch that blood loss. So you might still get back in combat, but basically what happens is whenever you get to your turn, you have to roll your athletics. If you succeed on a fairly high difficulty, you can get back up and still get back in the fight. If you get to your deadly wound, then you pass out, but you cannot get back up again until your deadly wound is healed. And that can take up to 5 days.
Okay.
But the thing is, you have what's called extended rests, which is a rule. Basically, let's say that the rest of the party is fine, but you're out for 5 days. So instead of them waiting around for 5 days for you to wake up, they can just take an extended rest, which means we just skip 5 days forward. As if we take 5 full rests, we just get rid of some resources, and but you can't do that everywhere. You have to do it in a town or somewhere safe, and then you're back in the game.
So extended rest is just we're going to take some time out, spend some time doing hobbies and pleasurable
downtime activities.
Yeah, and 5 days later we're ready.
Yeah, it's like in-game time has to pass, but it's up to you. You can, if you want to be hardcore, you can just go, nope, it's going to be 5 days. Okay, that's up to you. But generally, the rule is there to speed things up.
Talking of items, do you have the ability to be able to create items?
Yes.
So you can, for example, if you got
you have the ability to create you can craft everything.
Yeah. So is it straightforward rules, or are there actually skills that govern?
No. It's, definitely skills. It's not something I wanted everyone to just do simply. It's something that, again, if Japanese are into anything, it's like fine crafting. So it's like crafting a katana can take a month for a really good one, so it's like,
Yeah.
I wanted this to be for those who invest in that skill.
Fantastic.
So what you need is a couple of things. You need time and resources. You need to make a decent roll while you do it, and basically that's it. And then just have to wait for the crafting then to finish. It could be everywhere from 5 minutes to 5 months, depending on what you're making.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fantastic. And
I even have a table for it. So and I kind of expanded on this a little bit because I found that a lot of crafting was very lackluster in a lot of games, and I kind of hated that because I do like the idea of someone crafting their stuff, but it has to be earned. It has to be something like, roll. Oh, I got it now. No. You have to get the right stuff. You have to it takes some time. You have to invest in the skills.
Yeah.
So basically, like, let me give you an example. Let's say if you want to craft. Let's say you want to craft a metal weapon of quality between 2 and 5. So let's say quality 3 metal weapon. You need 4/10 of its cost in strong metal. So that's like an actual resource, a trade resource, and 1/10 of its cost in soft metal. And once you have that, and if it has a hilt, then it needs another 10th of its cost for other materials. Then you make a roll, which for this would be 7 difficulty, and then you roll, and then depending on how much time it takes, that depends on the quality. It could take probably a couple of days, and then you would finish the weapon. But if you fail the roll, you waste half the resources, and you have to do it, buy them again, and roll again.
Okay.
And you also need to have an actual specialty within a certain skill to even craft something like that.
Okay. And I take it the longer you take, then the better the quality of the weapon, so long as you make your rolls.
No. You pick what quality you're doing from the beginning, and then basically that determines how long it's going to take to make a weapon of that quality. You could finish it and then say, okay, I'm going to go for a quality 6, but then you have to buy the difference in materials.
Oh no, it's got to be done as one job. So you're creating a quality 6 weapon, and that's going to take a certain amount of time and certain amount of materials. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to make it so that if you want to make a quality 8, which is the highest quality available, a quality 8 katana, which is literally like what the shogun uses, like the one of the best weapons in the land, you should craft it for months, and also you should have a lot of money.
The steel and folding and all of that. Yeah.
It's also something. It's something that should be almost unattainable, but through crafting, basically, you can save about 40% of the money if you do it right. But you have to invest in that skill a lot. Otherwise, if you fail, you're just gonna be wasting resources.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to fail, do you?
You don't.
No.
Do you know what? I that's fantastic in the way of gear and stuff like that. I think we're ready to move on to your Shadows of the East expansion. If that's okay.
You mean my spells?
I mean your spells. So this is over to Vicky for this one.
Yes.
So this is going to be pretty interesting, probably, because I don't think you've ever seen spellcasting like I did in this game.
Well, something. This is part and parcel of the fun. So my first question is, how do spells and spellcasting fit in to a feudal Japanese setting?
I'm glad you asked that, because feudal Japan has a very expansive mythology.
Excellent.
And that is where I draw everything from. So basically, like I said before, basically the main religion in Japan was that back then and is now is Shinto, which is Shintoism is basically the belief that there are nature spirits inside many different things. Like, for instance, you have a tree spirit, you have a rock spirit, you have a sea spirit, blah blah blah, or multiple. In fact, there's so many of them. There's 8 million of them. So I thought, if I have 8 million of them, I'm not gonna make 8 million of them in the game, but I'm gonna pick like some of the most well-known ones and kind of figure out what are those. They're called kami, and what are those kami all about? So let's say the most famous one out of all of them well known throughout all Japan is Amaterasu. She's the sun goddess. She's literally like she's the goddess of the sun. So the belief is that without her, the sun does not come up. It doesn't shine. So, and she's also the one who banishes evil spirits from the land. When she, graces the land with her beams of light. So, and then I kind of went from there. I kind of picked a certain amount of kami. Like I think I picked like quite a decent amount. I think I picked like 30 or 40 kami, and then the most well-known ones, and then I kind of figured out what each one was, what was their gist, what was kind of their main thing. She was the goddess of the sun, and like the goddess of I think knowledge, and also so it's I kind of found the descriptions for each of those, and then I took it from there, and then I made it so that when you worship these kami, they give you a blessing, and that blessing is basically a spell, and then you can use that spell again. This is a low magic supplement.
Yeah, so this sounds to me, first of all, as if it's divine magic as opposed to
it's all divine. Yeah.
No, that's great.
Well, but it's so varied that you might as well call it just magic, because it's so varied in terms of what it can do. Basically, there's 3 types of magic essentially. And they're all based on faith. They're all tied to a faith. So you can't, if you're not faithful in that faith, you can't use that magic. So it has to be divine. So
this is, I'm going to just interrupt you and go, so does that mean if I go against my faith for any reason, or I don't follow the tenets of my God, that I could actually lose access to my spells?
Potentially, but that depends on which one you took. So, for instance, there's Shinto. Those are the ones with the, millions of kami. Then there's Zen, which is like personal powers. You could think of that as kind of akin to a monk in 5e, and only it is monks here that practice it. So Zen monks, it's kind of like mind over matter. It's kind of like based on perception and kind of their own. It's just powers that benefit them. They just kind of gives them abilities, makes them kind of supernatural. That's Zen, and then the third one is Christianity, which was a minor religion in Japan, and also very 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 hard to play for reasons that we mentioned before. Playing a Christian missionary.
So if you play a Christian missionary, you could actually have spells, but if you're caught,
and I literally made like Christian spells. I literally made like a spell. I'll give you like the staff of Moses. Literally, you point your finger out and then you just part everyone away. Wow. Stuff like that, or even stuff like resurrection, but it's very limited and sort of very kind of. Anyway, there's not that many of these, but I did kind of separate them in these 3 types, and they're all different. So Shinto has different kami. You pick one or multiple, depending if you're an actual priest, you can pick multiple. But here's the thing: any character can pick a minor kami. So there's minor and major. Major ones are more stronger. Minor ones are kind of weaker. Any character can, if they're a Shinto believer, they can pick one minor kami, and then they can use that spell once per day. The thing is, they have to pay tribute to the kami. So you literally have to. It's a money sink. So you have to pay them money every week. You have to give them a certain tribute. It can be an item. It can be whatever, as long as it's worth a certain amount. And if you're a priest, you also do that, but your tributes are halved in price, and you can pick 3 kami, and you can also pick major kami, whereas the other ones can't. So the male priest, the priest is kind of like a mage essentially, kind of, but everyone is severely limited in how many times they can use it, because in Shinto, I mean, in the first type of spell casting, because you can, like I said, if you pick 3 kami, that's three per day. That's it. If you want to use them,
so it's only those three, and is it that can be cast once
per day? But you but you also have something called a risk factor. So depending on how powerful the spell is, it has a certain risk factor. So if you cast each one of those once per day, there's no risk. You can cast it again if you want. You can cast it multiple times again, but each time you do, you have to make a percentage roll. If you roll under that risk factor, the spell won't go off, and you'll get a bane. So the thing is, you can risk it and say, okay, maybe I'll succeed and the spell will go off again. But the spells, like I said, it's low magic. I went the opposite direction because the first RPG I made was like loaded with spells, and it was just, I don't know, my head started hurting at the end because I had to balance all that stuff but also kind of fit the setting more. This one is, if I made this a high magic system, it just wouldn't fit well.
It wouldn't click. I think with you doing it around the religions, I think that fits in nicely. So you did you mentioned resurrection.
Again,
does that mean that you've got ways of bringing characters back from the dead after they've unfortunately succumbed to their wounds and
literally only
this mortal coil?
Literally only one of the few ways, and that's literally if you're a Christian missionary and you have an extremely high amount of piety, which is kind of like your devotion to God, and then you can use resurrection, which is a specific thing that only male Christian missionaries can use. That's it. And the other one is, I guess there is another way, but it involves rituals, which are very dangerous. Like you could beseech the gods to grant you a resurrection, but the result of that could be catastrophic. Like they could resurrect you and say, okay, well, here he is, but now he's a demon.
Nice.
So it's not really, I wouldn't say there's, apart from that one specific Christian high level ability, there's no other way of resurrection.
So typically death is death.
Death is death. Which is why I didn't touch on that earlier, but there's a lineage system in this game. So basically when you make a character, this is when Dean asked if in the nitty-gritty of character creation, this is something you can do or not do, but it's advisable that you do, is you can roll your lineage. So you can roll, do you have any brothers or sisters? Do you have any siblings? Do you have any siblings? Do you have any uncles, aunts? Do you have any children? Do you have any spouses? Like literally you roll your family tree.
That's cool.
And then when your character dies, you can pick a lineage character from that lineage that's going to be your next character. So either a brother or a sister or a mother, father, son, whatever.
So basically then you sort of take your character forward because it goes to someone else in your family to continue your questing.
And that's where also destiny comes in, which is a kind of an RP thing. Each character's profession has different destinies. Like for instance, let's say if you're a doctor and you roll a specific destiny, which be to, I don't know, cure, or let's say a more simple one. Like let's say you're a samurai and your destiny is to die valiantly on the battlefield defending your lord.
Yeah.
Let's say that's your destiny. And if you achieve that destiny and you died, then your lineage character will start 2 tiers higher because you achieved your destiny. And so they will also inherit your previous character's honor, their items, their wealth, and their traits.
I love that. It means you're actually sort of creating your very own family tree and passing. Yeah. Just please don't put inheritance tax into it.
There is a little bit, but it's not that much. But you can also, like, if they had a house, you get the house, it's stuff like that. But if they died dishonorably, so they were like criminals or stuff like that, then they'll take a pretty big tax before they give you everything else.
Yeah, because at that point it's a case of you've died dishonorably, and that stuff would be taken to repay those that you did ill and that sort of stuff, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and also there's a little caveat to that. If your character gets killed by someone before they achieve their destiny, your lineage character gets the vengeful trait, which means that becomes their destiny, is to avenge their dead relative. So that could kind of lead to all this kind of crazy sort of RP-ish sort of. That's why I don't really need resurrection, because I kind of because then if you could resurrect, it wouldn't work. Yeah.
In fact, so what you've actually done is you've created a system that quite nicely lends itself to campaigns. You may actually end up building your very own dynasty within that campaign, where you've passed on stuff from one ancestor to another throughout that, and you create your own that I like.
The family name has to survive, not necessarily.
Yes, if your family name goes,
the family name, not the first name.
Yeah, that's the trouble with dynasties, isn't it? You've got to keep that going.
Yeah, because they were big on that. They were big on lineages at that time. So I thought, if I don't include this, it's going to be...
Well, that means that you're actually missing a key point of feudal Japan.
And they were... Sorry, just a little caveat. When we were rolling for the characters on one of the little adventures that I'm developing now, everyone was like, when we were rolling for relatives, I was like, everyone was dying laughing, because you also get to roll, are they still alive or not? So someone was like, I got 3 dead uncles and 3 dead grandmas. We were like laughing.
It's like, I'm avenging them and them and them and them.
No, it works really well. Sorry, go ahead.
So thinking about, because we started talking about the spells, and because I got all excited, we sidetracked a little bit. But when I look at those spells, which we said they're very much dependent on your divinity that you're following, what sort of things can I do with those spells?
So they're very unconventional. Everything in this book is completely unconventional.
Give me an example. Come on.
Give me an example. Okay. Let's see. Let me see.
Because it doesn't sound as if fireball is going to be one of them.
No. Well, it could be a kind of a fireball-ish, but not. Okay. No, but generally speaking, no. They're not straightforward at all. Okay. Let me give you an idea. So I'll just get rid of the Zen and the Christianity ones first to give you an idea of how those work. So let's say Zen has 3 subsections: mind, body, and spirit. So basically, mind enhances your knowledge and mental capabilities, body enhances your physical capabilities, and spirit is like supernatural buffs that you can use to pertain to the immaterial, so you can detect spirits and stuff like that.
Cool.
And those are called aspects, all these 3. And these different aspects, let's say, I'll give you an example. This is kind of familiar. Again, if you played like a monk or something, you'll find this kind of familiar in a way. For instance, beast aspect is one aspect of the body. And you basically choose an animal aspect when you use the ability, and you gain a benefit. So if you choose the mantis, you get an extra dodge die against melee and range attacks. If you choose the snake, you get an extra die to attack rolls. If you choose the monkey, you get an extra die to agility rolls, etc. So basically, it's like a spell. It's like a buff for yourself. You can kind of boost certain stats, I guess. That's body. And let's say we got mind. Let's say you have supreme perception. Let's say so if you can be blinded, you can use supreme perception. You can really ignore the blinded conditions, so you can kind of see with your eyes closed. Stuff like that. So it's like stuff that benefits only the monk, because like we said, Zen is like very personal. And then you have stuff like even crazy stuff like astral projection. You can literally like project your spirit body and roam the land. But if you do it too long, there's a 33% chance that a demon is going to inhabit your body. So
that would be unfortunate. So with astral projection, are you doing it very similar to how some of the other games do it, where you've got a link back to your body, but that link could potentially be cut?
Yeah, kind of. Basically, you travel at a speed that equals your charisma score in meters. So every second you can move. If you have 5 charisma, you can move 5 meters per second in the spirit world. Basically, you move fairly slowly, but the idea is you can move anywhere. And in this game is like, that can be a huge boon, because you can literally, if you're wondering what's in that area beyond, you can literally just go there.
But I'm assuming that all that would need to happen is somebody to be able to identify that you've actually done that, and you could actually be in a very precarious position.
Yeah, but it's almost impossible to figure out, because here's the thing: there's no identify spell. It's not really a spell. It's a divine sort of. You're really just sitting there
Ability, yeah.
meditating. No one knows what you're doing. No one knows if you're just meditating or you're literally projecting far beyond. So, yeah, I mean, a demon would know that's you're roaming his little spirit realm, and then he can take your body. But anyway,
I
so that's
don't like the sound of these demons, Dean. I mean,
No,
we're
no,
looking
but-
great creatures.
okay. But by the way, that's just if you stay in there too long. Let's say if you stay in there too long. If you
What's
stay,
too long?
it's 5 minutes per success, because you have to roll. So you roll. If you get 5 successes, you can stay in there for 25 minutes safe. If you stay longer for 25 minutes, then you get a 33% risk that something's gonna go wrong. So it's based on successes. You have to roll for it to see how well you cast it.
When you're astrally projecting, can you end it and just return straight to your body, or do you
Yes,
have
you
to
can.
go
Yeah.
back to your body?
No, you can. You can.
Yeah. So in your example, 25 minutes, I could travel about 7.5 kilometers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
with
the
a
thing is-
charisma of 5. Yeah.
Yeah, if you it's 5 minutes per success, so you have to roll the difficulty 7. So
Roll
it depends on how
five
many-
successes. So
Yeah, 5 successes,
likelihood
yeah.
is you're probably, if you're lucky, you might get half a kilometer to a kilometer distance you can travel.
Yes.
As a scout to see what's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's also like a rank 7 for the Zen monks. It's a pretty high level. So but again, that's all Zen. That's all just for the Zen monk. That's nothing to do with the kami.
Yeah.
That's just, and then the Christian missionary, he has like also pretty unique stuff. Like, for instance, he has 3 different types of he has 2 different types of godly powers, which are segmented into purity, holiness, and devotion. Purity is powers that can heal or cleanse the body. These are very useful because, like I said, there's no supernatural healing really in the game. So this is one of the few types of supernatural healing. So these are very powerful. Holiness, which basically aids his persuasive acumen, so kind of like helps you with like persuasion and stuff. And devotion, which is literally like miracles. So to give you just one example, let's say so let's say purity of Christ. You touch a living creature that's affected by disease or poison. If you do, that creature gains a 10% bonus on its resistance rolls for every success on the abilities roll. So it's not like you cure them, but like if you roll 5 successes, he's going to get a 50% increase to his resistance, which is already percentage based. So if he had like 30, he now has 80% to resist it. So it's still not guaranteed, but it's like because I like it when there's a little chance of failure, because especially in this game, because then you can, if you don't do that, you very easily slide into what's it called? I guess you could call it min-maxing, but like just resource exploitation, I guess. Because you have like, I have this amount of resources, boom, I can do this. Well, I don't know if you can roll it, and also the more powerful it is, the higher the difficulty. So here's the thing: both Christian powers and Zen powers, they all require a roll to succeed, and how well they succeed. Because you can fail them. If you roll 0 successes, that's just nothing happens. But the Shinto powers, which is kind of the bread and butter of this magic system, those those do not require a roll, but the limitation is once per day. That's why there's 1 per day, because you don't roll. You just say I do them, and it happens.
And I take it when you say once per day, it's either refreshes in the morning or so it has to
in the
be,
morning, yeah.
and you have to have had rest and food and stuff like that.
No, you don't need to rest. That's not the condition. Is just a new day. So
Just
24
a new
hours
day.
have to pass.
So as the dawn comes in, then you are allowed to recast your spell.
Because the idea is the god that you chose is only going to bestow this gift upon you once per day.
Cool.
Yeah. So and the thing is, if you pick a major kami, you get 2 blessings that you can choose from. One's a combat blessing, the other one is a utility blessing. And if your minor only has 1 blessing. So basically, if you wanted a what do you want? An unconventional one is the one you asked?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me scroll through this a bit. because there's very unconventional ones, but I'm trying to find a funny one. You want a funny one?
Pick me one that you like, that you think really does show your setting, the way what you would actually see as iconic for your setting. All right, so probably something Shinto based. Because I think that would be iconic. I would say that would probably be way more iconic than any of the sort of Christian settings.
Okay, well, I got one. The other one is I also have a funny one, but it's a little plagiarized. It's not really, but it's kind of. I don't know if you've seen the movie Howl's Moving Castle.
No, I haven't.
Okay, never mind that one then. It's like there's a character in that movie. It's an animated movie. And there's a character in there. Is a scarecrow character and I literally made a spell that kind of summons him.
Oh, cool.
So anyone who saw that, it's called if you're gonna buy this game, basically check what's it called? There it is. Quebico. Yeah, so it's Bouncing Oracle. So if you get that one, you'll probably laugh because you'll know what it's all about. But anyway,
and what's the film that everybody needs to watch?
Howl's Moving Castle. So it's from Miyazaki.
Cool.
He's like one of the most famous. I'm sure people will recognize the name. It's he's like one of the most famous anime. Anyway, the most, I would say, kind of like one that kind of fits the setting really well would be so the god or the kami would be Hachiman. He is the titular god of war and the protector deity of the common folk.
Nice.
And he has two abilities. He has War Thirst and Ward. So War Thirst is basically, you can use this ability when you have one or more blood loss. If you do, you lose one blood loss at the start of your turn and can use it to either gain one attack die or remove one wound of the highest severity. So basically, the more you're bleeding, he sucks up the blood and turns it into rage.
Yeah.
And you can stack it up to 3 times, and then it disappears when the ability ends. And it lasts for a round, multiplied by your charisma stat. And then you also have Ward, which is, it projects a 10-meter sphere ward centered on you. While warded, you and any living creatures inside this radius cannot see or be affected by supernatural entities and vice versa, excluding deities. So basically, you create like a giant bubble around yourself so no evil spirit can come in and you can't harm them otherwise as well. So it's kind of like a protective circle. And that's Hachiman. That's like the god of war.
Fantastic.
That's kind of like, and this is kind of how I did it when I was coming up with these. What would the actual powers do? Is like I looked up at Hachiman and I thought, okay, well, what is his domain? Oh, war and protection. And then like, oh, he's a protector of common folk. Start rolling that in my head, and then I kind of came up with the powers.
No, I like that because you've linked all of your spells back to the sort of setting and how that would actually come together.
I got another one. If I can you give you another one? Because this one
give
might
me
be
one
better.
more. Go on then.
This one's kind of cool. So there's a god called Yatagarasu. He is a 3-legged crow god. So basically, he's sent from heaven as a form of divine intervention over the moral world and is considered a guiding god.
Nice.
So basically, he has 2 abilities. One is Yagatarasu's gaze. The other one is Yagatarasu's insight. So his gaze, if you use that one, a crow that you can always see lands on a nearby vantage point. At the start of each of your turns, the crow will gaze at one enemy that you both can see. If you attack that enemy until the start of your next turn, you will gain a bonus die on the attack roll and deal an additional light wound of damage. The crow will mark enemies this way until the ability's duration expires. So he's really just looking at your enemies, and then you gotta prioritize them. And then he has a utility blessing, and that you can use when you are posed a question with multiple choices, come across a fork in the road, or are faced with a similar dilemma that has multiple options. There must be at least 3 different options presented this way for the ability to apply, and if this condition is met, a 3-legged crow will land in front of you and eliminate all but 2 possible options, which will either be the best or least bad 2 options remaining.
That's nice. So that's almost your divinations, isn't it? Essentially.
Yeah.
I like that.
Divination god. Yeah.
That's really nice the way that you've tied that together.
But you also have, when you ask like fireball, like you also have spells like, you can just there's one that if you're standing in a shadow, the shadows literally damage you. Like the enemies are damaged by the shadow. So you have to stand in the place that does not have a shadow over it. Stuff like that. Or
Sounds to me like the most lethal sort of, the floor is lava.
yeah. Or if you worship the wind god, you can literally summon a gust of wind, and then if you shoot in the direction of the wind, you get bonus damage. And if people cannot shoot in the opposite direction, or if they shoot from the side, they get a penalty. Stuff like that. Or if there's a storm above you, there's one god that you can literally call down lightning from the storm, and there's one that creates a storm. It's all kinds of crazy stuff. But yeah, it's all kind of divine, really. Yeah, it's kind of, I don't know. It is. You're right. It is.
It is. It's divine magics, but the way that you've done it is really nice. It means you don't
It's
always
very
have
versatile.
to be. Yeah, you can actually choose your different paths. You're not a designated healer, as in the sort of standard sort of cleric-y type divine that you get in so many other systems.
Yeah, you can be if you pick that god. So you got to pick a god that can give healing. Yeah. But you can also. But here's the thing: you can always change gods. We got to pay the tribute again, but then you can change to a different one. So you can always adjust to the situation at hand. So you're not stuck with one god once you pick it.
Surely there should be a downside for ditching your god.
There is money. You have to pay the tribute again. So if you don't pay the tribute, you can't use the powers. If they're not appeased, can't use the powers. And there's also stuff like that I think other systems don't do, which is there's a difference between a male priest and a female priest. And this is again based on the actual, I did research on this. So basically the difference is it's subtle. Basically, it's kind of alters your starting equipment a little bit. But it's also like the female priest actually gets an extra ability that if she were ever to get blinded permanently, they actually become a spiritual medium between the spirit world and the world of the living. So basically, you're blinded, but so you at a lot of disadvantage, but you get the other side. Yes, you can literally see, you can automatically detect the presence of any spirits within a 100-meter radius, like constantly. You're just like seeing all the spirits. So you're very disadvantaged in combat, but you're kind of like really powerful in the supernatural sense.
No,
so
that's cool.
I added stuff like that, yeah.
I think that's great because you've really tied it all together. Now we've touched on demons. So you've mentioned demons stealing your body, which is not something that I'm particularly fond of thinking of happening. Quite frankly, it's mine and I'd like to keep it. What other sort of creatures have you got?
Well, if you don't do stupid things in this game, that's likely not ever going to happen. But if you do stupid things in this game, it might. And also, I could maybe just before we go on this way, I can touch on because I know we did items already. Because this book basically has three things: it's the supernatural abilities, the supernatural items, and the supernatural beings. So the items, I don't know if we can jump back to, because I know Dean's gonna get a kick out of this.
Go on, give us your supernatural items.
So they're called relics. So basically, and these are all based on actual relics that exist in Japan.
So you've done your research on these.
Yes,
you've done your research on these relics.
No, but they actually exist. It's not like things that like, oh, they exist in myth. No, you can actually go to a museum and look at it. They just have supernatural properties attached to them. They always thought, oh, this is the sword that can do this. This is the myth of this sword. Yeah, and it's in a museum somewhere. And I thought, what if that myth was true? And then I put it in the game. And then I went, and so I made basically two types of relics, which is basically armaments and trinkets. So armaments are basically weapons, and trinkets are anything from brooches to little boxes, everything else like equipment.
Yeah.
And again, these are all based on real things. So there's not too many of these, but they're all very, very unique. So like, I'll give you an example. Like one of the lowest tier relic katanas is the Kogarasu Maru, and what that does is the name means little crow circle. And what that does is,
Oh, I
if
love
you
that.
lose it, it is brought back to you by a black crow the next morning. So
Oh, that's
literally,
cool.
you can't lose it, really. And that's like the lowest tier. And then the highest tier is like crazy powerful. But that's like something that's, just going after a quest. It would be a quest or a series of quests to go after one of these items.
But that's nice, and that can also then be something that becomes part of your lineage and your ancestry, because it
Yeah.
could be something that you pass
Mhm.
down. And
Yeah.
I love that because it just brings everything together. So yeah, that's just cool. I just
Yeah,
love that. Yeah.
and they're separated basically into 4 tiers based on how powerful they are.
Yeah.
And basically there's like one that you might like. So you said, okay, you can't be a traditional healer in the sense of like a druid or a cleric in other games, but let's say if you pick the Kuyomiya or the Ikutachi weapon, one is a great bow, the other one is a katana, actually a odachi, like a greatsword. If you take one of these, it has an ability that if you intentionally shoot an ally or attack an ally and activate this ability, you heal them for the damage you dealt.
So it's ow, ooh.
Literally, the arrow turns green, and then you just
Ooh,
all the wounds are gone.
Yeah,
And the
that's
same
like,
for the
don't hit
sword.
me. Oh.
Yeah. No, because they're saying there is friendly fire possible in this game. Like you could potentially critically fail and go, oh, I want to swing at the enemy, but I tripped and I swung at my friend. But then you say, oh, but I have this ability, and then you use that, and then you actually heal them. So
No, that would be absolutely fine. If someone hit me in the face by accident but made me better, that would be fine.
Stuff like that. And then you have trinkets, which are just all different types. There's so many different ones, but let's say I'll give you one example that's like super
Go on,
fun.
give me an example of an iconic trinket.
Okay, let's find one. Well, there's one that's like super common. Well, not common, but like it's super versatile. It's called a shintai. That's basically a receptacle for a kami or a spirit. So literally, a god could be in the receptacle, and you don't know which one, and you can release them.
Oh, would releasing them be good or bad?
You don't know. They don't know what's in there. If you know what's in there, then you know. But if you don't, you don't.
Just
but
a piece of advice for everyone: don't shake it. Right,
yeah,
regardless of whether they're nice or not, shaking would not be good.
I can give you a bit of a crazy one. It's a little longer description, but basically, it's a doll. They're big. Dolls are a big thing in Japanese mythology of all different types. Basically, it's a doll. So you boil the doll in a pot and recite the name of a person and one of their body parts you wish cursed. After the ritual, which takes about 10 minutes, an Ichiyama spirit will emerge from the doll looking exactly like the person that was deemed to be cursed. It will then travel to the named person's home bearing a gift, usually a fruit or a vegetable. If the named person accepts the gift, they have to make a very strong resistance roll. On a failure, the person contracts a disease in the infected limb and dies within a week, but can repeat the roll at the end of each day, ending the effect on a success. Treating the affected limb with the Sarashi gives you a bonus, and basically then the doll becomes unusable. So you can get like a curse. You can literally kill someone if they fail a roll twice.
Yeah, that sounds nasty. That sounds sort of
high level.
But that actually sounds like something someone evil would do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I didn't say it was a good item. No, but there's one. Okay, there's a cool one. The Tide Jewels. This is one you might like. So there's the Shohiru Tama and the Shumitsu Tama. Basically, there's these two little jewels. Mm-hmm. They come separately. So if you find both of them, that's better. But each one of them has a certain property. The Shohiru Tama controls the ebbs water, while the other one makes it flow. So if you have the Shohiru Tama, you can stop the flow of water within a 15 meter radius of you. If the water is cascading, it will stop in midair. And then if you have the other one, you can actually move and shape a body of water telekinetically within your sight range. So you can literally
cool.
like make waves and stuff and make water burst from barrels and stuff like that.
That does sound really interesting. So,
okay,
Sebastian,
not the spirits, yeah.
We've covered an awful lot here, And what I want to know is, what does the future hold for you? You've got one game out already, and I think we need to arrange a follow-on to talk out around that one as well. But you've got this one. This one is out now. Is that right? This one is out.
These are both out. These are both out.
And the expansion. So where can people find it?
Drive-through RPG, RPG Renegade. Just type that in. Or
all the links will be in the description. So yeah.
And on Lulu as well, if you want just the print version. So only print is on Lulu, and Drive-through RPG has both digital and print for both, as well as my other stuff. So that's where you can get them.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah. I have to admit, I think this setting is fantastic. I think the way that you've pulled it all together, I love the D12s because I like rolling them. I like the fact that it's very similar to the sort of Shadowrun system with your successes and you take your dice away. I think that's easy to pick up and learn, but you've also got an awful lot of depth. I would say that the magic system is definitely more divine in its very nature. And I would like to do a deeper dive into that at some stage, because there's an awful lot I'd like to dig into, and I don't think we can do it justice on this one. So I actually think we need to do another 2 sessions with you. One to go through with what you've already got out for your other system, and I'd also like to do a special, if you like, just based on your magic system and how it actually works within feudal Japan. And within that, I'd also like to talk to you a little bit about what you've done around your research. I'd like to dig into that a bit more. And I'd also like to dig into, you seem to have done a really good job of pulling together how things are, what things are called and how you pronunciate them. Pronounce them, because I'm useless at stuff like that. So I would actually like to do a sort of special just on that side of it, because I don't think we can do it justice today. I think doing a nice special going into that in depth, if that's okay with you, I'd love to do that. And I'm quite sure the people who are watching this would like to know more, because I look at the system you've got, the divine system, and I think that warrants a real deep dive.
Well, there was a lot of shenanigans when we played
exactly. I can tell.
The shenanigans speak for themselves. I mean, I got tons of stories. But that's what the future holds. I might have something new by then, because I'm literally making an actual adventure that's going to use these 2 books.
Fantastic.
That I'm hopefully going to release during the summer. So I'm playtesting it now with my ARL group here that we play on the weekends. We're about 40% through. So I hope I can get it finished by summer. I think I will. And that's going to be like a mystery, intrigue, occultish sort of, but kind of grounded in like one of the local samurai communities, demons and ghosts and all kinds of stuff.
That sounds absolutely intriguing. So I think in that case, we will do a special that ties up your divine expansion and moves into your adventure, so we can cover all that. So I'll get that in the diary with you. And I would like to put something in the diary to go through your other system with you, because I'm intrigued, because you said about how challenging it was and the mistakes you made. Let's unpack all of that. Let's talk about it, because I'm hoping a lot of people who design games are watching this sort of thing. And I know we've gone through such a journey on our own game design. I'm sure you've been on very similar. And I think the more we talk about it, the more we can help other indie creators as well. So I just want to thank you for your time today. You've been an absolute star. And I will sort out getting that into the diary. But thank you for taking us on this journey through so Senshi, and I got to just check the name of the Shadows of the East expansion. So
Yes.
Tara Freya sat on it and then scrumpled it. And I can't read my own writing now. So that's been fantastic. It's been really intriguing indeed.
Yes,
so
indeed.
Thank
So
you
you-
very
you-
much.
So you did ask about the spirits, and I know we don't have the time to go into that now, but I can end this on a fun note. I have a cat spirit
Ooh,
because I know you two love cats.
just
what gave it away?
Quick, I can give a quick description. I don't think you want to meet this one though.
Oh.
It's basically the most vicious and dangerous type of cat spirits. When it reaches a certain age, its tail splits in half, and then it can literally throw fireballs from its tail,
I'll play one of them.
and it can animate corpses and mind control them.
Oh dear.
and use them to attack whoever threatens it. It has been responsible for immolating many cities.
But makes the perfect domestic pet.
Yeah.
No.
I'm sure your cat is
No, definitely not. No.
So I can kind of end it on that.
Sebastian, thank you so much for joining us today. I found it really intriguing getting into your whole system. I think it will be absolutely great if we can do a follow-on, because I'm sure the audience would love to hear more about Shadows of the East, and also some of your up-and-coming adventure that you've got coming out. So thank you for joining us.
Yes, thank you so much, Sebastian.